There's a big difference between real player demand and coordinated buyouts. And I think what's happening right now in Fusion World is a coordinated buyout. That's not to say that Fusion World in and of itself is a bad TCG, but historically it's been a player-first type of market. But lately, over the last month, I've noticed trends with box sales as well as singles slowly increasing until last week, or within the last week, a giant spike in the market. What's up, everybody? My name's Chris. I run a business called Grounded TCG where I buy and sell trading cards. And that's why some of these market trends with Fusion World are kind of throwing up some red flags for me. Now, I started collecting Fusion World last spring, I think around the time that the Rivals Clash set came out. And in that time, albeit a short time, I have not seen prices this ridiculous. And so I just wanted to get on here real quick and talk about that. I think this is both good and bad for the TCG. Starting with the bad, like I said, this game has historically been a player-driven market, meaning people that play the game are the ones that are buying the boxes, at least the majority share, and the prices of the singles have been dictated by their relevance within the meta of the game, with a smaller portion of the market share being held by collectors. So I think one of the concerns that I have is that product or singles is just not available for players. And that's an issue for the longevity of the game, because if people can't get the cards that they need to play the game, especially in a game that's largely driven by the players, then eventually those players are going to stop playing and the game's just going to basically choke itself out. Now, I could be completely wrong about this. It could be just a sudden surge of interest in either the game or the collecting aspect of the TCG. But I think if we kind of zoom out and look at TCGs as a whole, there's been a lot of market manipulation happening, not just in Fusion World recently, but most recently with One Piece, we saw it happening. And then, of course, with the big Pokemon boom that started up last year. I personally think that this is artificial and not a true organic growth. And I think that for a few reasons. First of all, is just my own perspective. This is anecdotal evidence. I've spoken with a couple of my local LGSs where I would get Fusion World regularly from. One of them said that they had somebody calling, asking about the rest of their boxes, trying to buy out all of their boxes. And then another one, when I went to get a box from them, said that because of the current state of the market, they were not going to be doing any more box sales, that they were only going to be packing out their boxes. So that's one piece of evidence as to why I think this is an artificial thing. Another way that we can look at this to see whether this is artificial or if it's organic is to actually just go to places like TCGplayer or eBay and look at recent sales and look at the trends over the last year or so. Now, looking at the set that I first started collecting with, FBO6 Rivals Clash, we see the market price is $209 with a most recent sale of $250. I've expanded the market price graph back to 1 year to kind of look at the trends. Around release, which this was like pre-release times, May 5th, I think, is when it released. You could buy a box for $80, $90. It slowly started to tick up. I think overall it was a pretty well-received set. And then we see kind of some dips, but it hovering around 120 to 130 per box until just recently we see a sudden spike. And now the market price is $209. You look at the listings available, there's one shop that you can purchase this box from, and it's Shushu Card Shop. Has 9 available, and that's it. We look at sales data, all the recent sales. Literally not even a month ago, this box was selling for $120. And then suddenly we start to see some increase, boxes going up to $170. And now where we're at now is most recent sale for $250 per box. Now let's compare that to, and this is just my opinion, but arguably one of the least favorite sets of Fusion World, and that's Ultra Limit, which is FBO4. At release, you could get a full case for around $500. And then suddenly there's a surge, and now the market price is $654, but you can't get a case for cheaper than $1,200. And you see there's only a few listings, one of those being Shushu Card Shop. And then lastly, comparing that to what I would argue is the most popular set ever released up to this point in Fusion World, SBO1, which is the manga booster that released over the summer. You can see it's been a pretty popular set, but even then, boxes hovered between $150 and $170. Depending on where you were getting them from, a lot of LCSs would, sell them to you at MSRP, which I think was around $120. And then we see it slowly starting to trend up, and then a sudden spike within the last few weeks to $300. We look at recent sales just in the last few days. There's been multiple sales, all between $480 and now $650 being the most recent sale. And once again, our market price is $518, but you can't find any listings less than $600. There's two listings. One of them, again, is Shushu's Card Shop with 156 boxes. Now, the argument could be made that this is just a supply issue. Historically, Bandai is not known for reprinting sets or doing massive reprints. And so it could just be that there's a sudden spike in interest in the game. And because of the limited supply, everything's just being bought up by people that want to play or collect, especially considering the announcement that was made on the 25th, just this last week, that Dragon Ball Super would be coming back for a new story arc. Or you could say that it's because of the announcement of, I think the new set's called Dual Evolution FBO9 that comes out next month, which has admittedly some amazing looking cards. You've got, I think it was 5 God Rares. You're going to have 2 leaders, I think, that are God Rares in the set. And so it's, people are speculating that's going to be one of the best sets ever to be released up until this point with Fusion World. But I think if you look at the purchases that were happening on TCGplayer, a lot of these buyouts, alleged buyouts that we see just with the recent sales, were happening before the announcement was made, and then I think just kind of snowballed after the announcement. And so I think because of these reasons, I think this is more of an artificial pump and dump type of thing versus organic growth. Now, just because this is artificial growth, that doesn't mean that it couldn't lead to organic growth. I think this does some good for the game. First of all, I think for the people that have already been collecting or playing Fusion World, and even Dragon Ball Super Masters, this is good in some ways for them because their collection increases in value. And that's, not a bad thing if you care about the cards that you're collecting. But secondly, this increases visibility for the game. And so a lot of people might be getting into it because it's being pumped, but then they might actually see, oh, this is actually a really cool TCG. The cards are extremely well made. I mean, if you've collected anything other than Dragon Ball, like One Piece, or Gundam, or Union Arena, you know that Bandai makes high quality cards, and their quality control is just great. So with the increased visibility, this could actually be beneficial for the game. I think like we've seen recently with One Piece and then historically with Pokemon, the people that are already in the game will kind of just have to ride it out and see kind of where the chips land. Because I think over time, the people that are in it just for the money will probably cycle out. And that's just based off of trends that we've seen in the past with largely with Pokemon, but also recently with One Piece. And it very well could go back to being a largely player-driven game. But tell me what you think. Do you think that this is true organic growth, or do you think this is a pump and dump? Are you excited about the set that's coming out in March? Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. If you thought this video was helpful or interesting, be sure to like it and consider subscribing for more TCG content in the future. Thank you, and I hope you guys have a blessed week.